Welcome back to Stormworks. I made another sky castle. This one's unfinished and it'll probably stay that way forever. The reason for that is because the feature that it's built around is completely worthless. But it's a very fun feature anyway, so I figure, why don't I show it to you? So normally the maps in this game look like this. Now this is the map that's included with the game, and it has some problems. The biggest problem is that you can't query it. It's not interactive. I can't say, is this land? How high is this? How low is this? So I figured we should make our own map, and that's what this vehicle is built to do. So how does that happen? Well, you see all these lasers at the front? These are the new laser cameras, and it turns out that these things respond with an exact GPS coordinate of whatever they hit, including the height. This is so much nicer than the laser rangefinders we had before, which would just give you range, and then you'd have to try and work out exactly where the coordinate was, and it would just be a big mess. These just give you the coordinates, so you can just store it. And you can see that's exactly what we're doing here. We've got this map slowly forming on our screen. Now this is a tiny little island, so we're not really getting too much data from it. But there's a reason why I chose this tiny little island. Over there you can see there's a cliff, and there's another, sea cliff that is, and there's some more everywhere around here. We can see how we are scanning in all directions, and we're just kind of looking around and getting a basic idea of what's around. Now this is a rear-powered, flight-assisted vehicle. It's not like the previous Skycopter, which had to tilt. And the reason for that is because tilting is bad when you've got a bunch of cameras trying to scan the ground. So we're not tilting. Instead, we're using those propellers on the back there to move us forward at a pretty good rate of speed. And, of course, we collect all of the data below us as we go. So here is this pink blob. I see we're approaching it. Now, our zoom factor is a little bit out. We're zoomed pretty far out. And that's because this is intended to zoom aggressively. This is intended to be a big map that we're building here. But we could change the zoom factor if we felt like it. We could zoom in, for example, get a little bit of a better picture. You can see down in the corner we are currently at 3,000 points and climbing. And that's because there is a maximum number of points I'm willing to store. It's 10,000 in this particular case. That's not a hard limit. That's just what I decided on. We could change that. In fact, it's a little toggle that you can choose. But the fun thing about this is actually a tiny little secret down in the corner here. This is not a solitary ship. Let me show you what I mean. If we decide to go back to home base, we're over here, and home base is way over here. If we go back to home base and teleport there, boom, here we are at home base. Look at this wonderful home base, very complicated. Here it is. Look at this. So this is where we are right now. You can see the map is rotated 180 degrees. I just didn't bother to set it up right because it doesn't matter. We've scanned around in these areas a little bit. Now, 722 points. We were at 3,000 points, right? Well, this map is zoomed out further. And the way it works is that each map only stores one data point per pixel, per resolution unit. And for this, it's every 500 meters. So each pixel on the screen represents 500 meters. That doesn't necessarily mean that we have data for every pixel on the screen. We do some blurring, but that's the basic idea. Now, shall I show you something that, if you are a Stormworks programmer, will probably blow your mind? Oh my god, I just cleared the map, because whenever you go back into edit mode, the map goes away. All of the RAM is gone. Oh no, what are we gonna do? How about we rebuild it? As long as any unit is alive, all of the map data remains. There's a little bit of lossiness, but the basic idea remains. This is so much fun. This is the only time I've ever had a Stormworks object which simply survives being cleared and rebooted like this. And this is why the project is so much fun, because in theory you could just build an entire map, a map of the universe, just like this. And if you need to change a parameter, you don't have to delete the map to do it. Now, if we were to go back over to our ship over here in the corner here, there is a problem, and we'll probably get to see it, depending. All right, there we are. So it looks like we might have survived it. We'll know in a minute here. Oh yeah, we survived it. That's great. So there's a glitch which can cause the Lua code to reboot without the ship rebooting, which means that these cameras all screw up and they start to point into the sky and do strange stuff. But it looks like that didn't happen to us. Maybe it's because we have a keep alive block on the ship. But unfortunately, there's not really any good way down from the roof. That's something I put on near the end of these vehicles. There we are. Good. So let's take a little tour. I'll show you around. Obviously, we've got the map center, which is right here. These are the incoming data values from home base. And they allow us to copy home base's code. But in reality, these are from us. We only copy home base's code when we are not personally scanning. So that means that if we go down to the water and we put our cameras away, which we'll do is... how high are we? I think we're pretty high. Oh, I can turn on our lights? Yeah, there we are. Lights, that'll help us. Wow. We gained a lot more height than I thought we did. Well, basically, if we put the cameras away, then we go into passive mode, where we just collect data from whoever is broadcasting it, which is usually home base. While our cameras are currently active and spinning, we are in broadcast mode, where we constantly broadcast ourselves, our own map, because it's the map that's currently being explored. And this is a good way to change up who is responsible for what kind of transmissions. It's an easy way to handle things. Over here we've got the built-in map system, which is useful for autopilot. And then of course we've got our view, which you can drive that way if you'd like, but all of the seats are capable of driving. It's very, very simple. Here we've got some seats that would have eventually been for comms control, since, you know, remote control and stuff like that would be extremely valuable for this kind of expedition. I'm not going to create it, though. Back here we've got the upper rear deck, which has this nice hole in the floor and some lights on the side. I don't know what we'd put here. And here you can see the propellers in the back. But this is never going to be completed, I'm afraid. It's just... there's no reason to actually need a map. Here is the foredeck, which needs to be adjusted, but that's okay. And you can see the ring of all of our cameras. It's a beautiful laser light show. And then we can go down into the lower deck, which is intended to be for crew quarters and stuff, but I never built it out. So it just looks like this. And then we got engineering in the back. It's a lot less feature heavy than most of my finished projects. It's just basically oriented around the concept of that map. And I like the concept, I just can't think of any actual use for it. Well, whatever we want with it, we can do it. It's just that I'm not going to bother. Oh, look, we're maxed out on our points, which means we're going to be bleeding points, which is okay, because we're broadcasting those points back to home base before we bleed them, and then home base will store them if this place needs more resolution. Either way, I think this is probably the last you're going to see of this flying castle. But it was fun. It was a lot of fun to work out how to do this. It was much more complicated than you might think. Have a good one.